Hi everyone, and welcome to the Book Refuge, and welcome to my book chat for The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. This is book 5 in the Outlander series. If you haven't seen any other of my reviews yet, I will link the playlist up above to here. I've been doing reviews of all of the books as I did a reread this year, as well as review for each season of the television show. And starting next week, I will be having episode by episode, like instant reviews slash like first thoughts on all of the episodes coming out, and I'm very excited to be doing it. So finally, the book that I was doing this reread for, I got to it, which was for The Fiery Cross, which is what season 5 is supposed to be based on. I think we're getting a little bit of different information that things will be pulled back from book 6, A Breath of Snow and Ashes, as well as there are a few things at the end of Drums of Autumn that didn't get touched on, so I feel like some of that will happen. Either way, I really would be okay if they just broke away from doing book to season, just because now we're starting to get into the really big books, and it really would be okay if they start to just, start doing the timeline instead of trying to make it fit, because I think they're missing some important things. But anyway, don't need to talk about that. This is a review, which not so much a review as more of the book chat, because this will be spoilers, because you shouldn't be up to book 5 if you don't know what Outlander is about, and because I just kind of want to like squee about all the things I loved, because this is obviously a 5-star. Like, none of these books has been under a 5-star for me, and I have so many feelings. I think I have 3 pages of notes here. Maybe I fit it into 2. I fit it into 2, but there's a lot to say with all of it. So let us get started. So first off, as always, I'll share kind of some backstory, like how I was feeling when I went into reading this the first time, and then how that differed from this time. So the first time I read this, I was very confused. We get introduced to so many characters in just the first part of this book. So the entire first part of this book, let me find... I made so many notes in these. Okay, so the first 160 pages of this book all take place in one day at the gathering that started at the end of the last book, and everything happens in a day, this first 160 pages. And we get introduced to so many people. If you see an interview with Diana when she talks about this book, she explains that all of the threads of this book start in this first part. It's more than one chapter, but this first part of the book gets set up in this one very long day. And I think that's amazing, because I didn't realize that the first time I read it. I think I found that out when I did the Outlander's Companion, which I've read a couple years ago now, and I haven't reread this book since then, but I remembered that when I started reading, and I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. All of these threads getting set up, each of our characters getting given a mission slash what their book is going to be about gets set up here. And it's so cool, because when I got to the end, I looked at each of the characters and I realized that they'd went on kind of a journey, which I will get to in a minute here. So, but anyway, the first time through, I was very confused because we get introduced to so many characters. And this time around, I started looking for people, because a lot of them, we spend time with them in the next 3 books. And I know who's going to be trouble, who's going to become one of my favorites. And so I really started to recognize some of the names, which was very helpful, because the first time through, I really was just swamped by information, and it was just a lot. It was a lot. So it's really great in this because everyone is together for this book. Well, obviously we're missing Ian. We lost him at the end. But I mean, of our 2 main couples, and then Fergus and Marcelly and their children, they are all together for most of this book. There's some separations because of the War of Regulation. But for the most part, everyone is together, and there isn't any family drama really happening. They're just living their lives, and I love that. I love slice of life stuff. I love when people are homesteading. I love figuring out different problems. I love that so much. So this book was really a joy for me, and there was just so many amazing things happening. So how I like break this down with things is that like Claire to me, so I have Claire, Jamie, Bree, and Roger, and then like what I feel like was mostly happening with them in this book. So for Claire, she is really expanding her like healing efforts, her doctor efforts, figuring out how to use penicillin. It's not penicillin. She's not turning it into penicillin, but how to use penicillin to help with surgeries and with healing. How to be the wife of, I mean, Jamie becomes a commander basically of this like small group of law basically, because that's what he's supposed to be, is kind of be like a magistrate, and then gets roped into being a commander and, you know, all those things. And just how to like juggle that, and just trying to help the people on the ridge as best as she can. And I love whenever she has her little surgeries or different illnesses she's helping with. I love all of it. Jamie is dealing with being like a chief and a lord and a commander, and being a father and a grandfather and a husband, and, you know, all the different things. And we get to see some of his best sides and some of his most annoying sides. I don't think there's too many of his like bad sides in this one, but we have some amazing stuff happen with him in this book that I'll get to soon, that he just continues to unveil more layers of himself to me. And I feel like I know everything about Jamie Fraser, and then there's just more that I don't know, and I love it. I love it so much. Bree, we get to see her being a mother and being a wife and being an inventor. We really get to see her using her abilities to try to make life better on the ridge, to come up with different inventions. She comes up with a syringe using a snake tooth at one point to help her mother. She is coming up with different designs and different things, and it's so cool. I love that part of her. I love Bree so much. Roger is coming into being a father, trying to see how he feels about Jeremiah, Jemmy, and like if he, you know, he's trying to be as connected to him as he can and to be a good father, try to obliterate his doubt about whose son he is, because he's decided it doesn't care. He's going to be this kid's dad. But Stephen Bonnet still haunts them all, as well as being a son, because one of the relationships that I know I love, but I forgot about the different steps to get there, and that is the connection between Jamie and Roger. And, you know, Jamie asks Roger to be his captain. Roger is feeling really insecure that Jamie is asking Fergus and Josiah Beardsley to take care of the ridge. And Roger's like, well, why don't you trust me? And he's like, I do. You're coming with me and gonna have my back. You're my son. You're the son of my heart. And I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, it's so good. So, okay, let's go in. Things that I love. I love Bree and Roger and them dealing with their relationship and with Bree's trauma and the danger that Stephen Bonnet can still pose in different situations. And because Jamie's not letting it go. And so that is going to pull Stephen's attention back to them, which could be dangerous. Bree and Roger have been intimate with each other, but Bree is having problems enjoying it fully. She still loves being with Roger. She's not doing anything out of obligation, but she's still not like connecting the way that they want to. And Roger actually finds her dream journal where she writes about her nightmares and her dreams, and and she's okay with him reading it, so it's okay, but he like uses it to help make things better, and I kind of like that in some ways. Also, the trauma that Roger goes through. He gets tricked by his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, for which he's so dumb. He makes a stupid move. He kisses the like the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, who is this guy's wife. I forgot the names. I know I wrote it down, but like Buckley Mackenzie or like William Maclay, whatever his name is. He's Dougal and Gaelis's son. And Roger had helped them when he was on Stephen Bonnet's ship. And when he finds her again, he's happy, everything's going well, and he kisses her, which is so stupid. Like, why does he kiss her? He's related to her. It's weird. But he's doing it out of just like friendliness almost, but her husband sees it, and then they try to explain it, and so he's jealous, and Roger is trying to warn him that the king's men are going to, like, Lord Tyrion, is that how you say his name? Tyrion, whatever. His men are going to crush them, and he's warning them to leave, and this guy doesn't like that Roger was in his space, and so he tricks Lord Tyrion. I really should say his name right. Tryon. Lord Tryon, I'm sorry. He tricks Lord Tryon into thinking that Roger is one of the militiamen, and Lord Tryon wanted to hang a couple of them to be an example, and instead of taking the gag out of Roger's mouth and asking him who he is, they hang him. And by some miracle, because it was done improperly, it didn't break his neck, but it like swelled up his throat, so Claire has to do a tracheotomy, and they save him, but he can't talk or sing for a good portion of the book. And he goes through kind of a soul-searching thing on his own. We get a part of the book that is like almost solely from his point of view. And Brianna goes through a grieving process of like, what if I never get to hear him say my name again? And so Jamie and Claire, and being the good parents they are, Jamie kind of intervenes and gives Roger some work to do and tells him to go spend time on his own and work on himself and like come back to his wife whole or figure it out. And he does, and he's able to talk. He's just not like really able to sing, but he's able to talk, and him and Jamie get even closer. Jamie teaches him how to fight so that when they find Stephen Bonnet, Roger can be the one to kill him because it's his wife and his son, and he wants to be the one to do it, even though Jamie's been the one looking for him the whole time. Jamie almost dies. Him and Roger and the men are out hunting buffalo, and Jamie gets bitten by a snake, and Roger keeps him alive all night. Jamie shares a lot of things with him and tells him to pass them on, and he says, like, I trust you to take care of my family, and I, you know, love you as a son, and it's so good. Claire has to drag Jamie back, and Jamie almost dies, and he chooses to stay because he knows that Claire won't make it without him, and dying would have been a lot easier. Hold on. And he almost lets it go because he thinks he's going to lose his leg. So there's this really intense scene. So Jamie doesn't want to lose his leg, and Claire doesn't know if she'll be able to save his leg. She's trying all the tricks that she knows, and he tells her, he's like, if you can't save my leg, I want to die. And he makes her agree to it. He's like, you do not have my permission to take my leg, basically, which is terrifying. But she's like, I don't accept that. I'm not going to, you know, let you die. And through the night, Jamie almost dies in the night, but he decides to live for his family. And Claire doesn't even realize that he was maybe going to go until the next morning that he's alive. And it's so beautiful and painful and just all the things. And she's able to save his leg. It's really painful. She has to abrade it, which is like scrape all the dead flesh off and put maggots on it that will eat the dead flesh off. And when it's done, she says, like, it's going to work. I know it will. And like, he cries and he weeps for the joy and the fear of it all. And I just love it so much. I love it so much. There's also Jamie's relationship with Jenny. Jenny hasn't written a letter to him since Ian was taken, and she finally writes him this letter, which is gonna crack me. She writes him this letter saying that she understands her men and she knows that when they go, she might never get them back, and that it isn't her place to be angry at him when Jamie's a grown man and he made his own decisions, and that she still loves Jamie and she always will love him, and she's sorry that she couldn't just hate him. And I love it so much. Jenny, in the books, Jenny is probably one of my favorite people, even though she's so frustrating. She is just as fierce and crazy and wild as any of the Frasers, and I love her so much. So anyway, wow, there's just a lot. I love it. I love it so much. As usual, I have so many quotes. I can't even touch on everything. The ending of this was so powerful. And I think everyone, one of the big decisions that gets made is that we find out that Jemmy can travel because he can hear the gemstones. So they believe that he could travel through the stones. So they could go to the future if they wanted to. But through everything that happens and all the bonds that are forged, Roger, because Jamie asked him, he's like, well, you know, the boy can travel. Are you going to leave? And Roger is like, well, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, you're my home, you're my family. And Roger, he makes the decision that he would stay and that him and Bree, this will be their home. Whether or not that will be for always, it is for now, and it's a very powerful decision for them to stay there and give up the ease and the comfort of the future for the danger of what we're living through. I mean, Roger almost lost his voice. He did lose it for a while. They see like how easily a snake bite could take someone from them, how birth could be a death sentence. And there's a lot of talk about birth control in this one, of just like Claire wishing she could protect her daughter from that, because like she had almost died in childbirth with Faith and with Bree. And so she's always worried about that being a possibility. And there's just, you know, all these different things that could kill them, and them choosing to stay is really powerful. The last thing that I love, I totally forgot about this. We get Ian back. We get Ian back. And it is so good. Like they do a good job of like, they remind you of him every once in a while. Roger talks a lot about feeling the ghost of him around him, the spirit of him around him whenever he feels like he's being judged by Jamie and being found lacking, which Jamie's not really doing. He just is trying to find a way to connect with Roger. He feels Ian, and then they're getting attacked by a wild boar, who, that's a whole thing. Like, I don't have time to go into every storyline in this book, but Ian is there. And we don't find out yet why, but he doesn't come back with his wife, who we knew he has a wife and that there was supposed to be a child coming. And he doesn't come back with them. It's him and Rollo. He has tattoos on him and things in his hair, but he's back, and he's back to stay. And it's probably the best thing ever. I'm so glad we only get one book without him, which it still is. I think it's like 18 months. Because I tried to track. I believe this book is 18 months of time. And a lot happened for him and a lot happened for them. And we have him back, and I can't wait. And right at the end, we get some new characters introduced that will be a lot of trouble for us and also a lot of joy for us. The Ridge is pretty full of its tenants now. We get Tom Christie and his children, who will be interesting, and we find out some cool stories about them. And yeah, so that's all of the stuff I like. So there's just a few dislikes and then future points, and I'll wrap this puppy up here. So I dislike kind of the militia versus the regulators. I know this just needs to be in there for historical accuracy's sake. Like, the War of Regulation is what happened. And, you know, I'm worried that the TV show is mostly going to focus on that, but I have a theory about that, which I'll talk about when I do a theories video for this. But I just feel like it's a lot of hype for nothing. I know it's just the beginning, but there's so much hype for it. They have an almost battle. There's a couple people get hanged and then it's over. And it was built up so much and then nothing really comes of it. And that's why I'm worried about the show, because all they keep showing is all the battles and everything. And like, we're still 6 years away from revolution really breaking out, which is a lot of time. And so I just don't like it, but I'm not so much blaming like the writing for that, because she has to share what is happening. It's just, I think it's such a buildup for nothing. Like nothing really happened. It was stupid. The gold is still a thing. We find out more about the gold now that like, Stephen Bonnet's after it. Stephen Bonnet causes problems. He apparently is on the trail of this gold and knows so much about it. And it's just ridiculous. All of the threads to do with the gold, like it's very confusing. There's murders happening because of it. And it's always the gold. Like if anything crazy is happening, blame it on the gold. And I just want someone, and we're still not done with it. There's more, because some of it is missing and someone has it and it's somewhere and it's annoying. Also, like I said, I don't super like that we meet at least 30 to 50 people in this book. And I'm supposed to remember them because they will be around later, and that's really frustrating. So, future points. We learned more about Ottertooth and that there were 4 other men who came through with him. They were part of a Native American group who was going to try to change things for the natives, not to have us never come to America, not to have like Europeans never come, but to change trade agreements was their plan. Their plan was to forewarn the Indians of like the Trail of Tears and of us taking everything over and have things go differently, which is actually very fascinating, because he wasn't coming to like kill us all off because he knows that he never would have been able to stop us, but to like shift the power. And I think that's very interesting. Didn't work, but interesting. So we know that there are other time travelers possibly stuck in this time as well. And yeah, so that's kind of like the future points of that. So, wow, so many feelings. I love it so much. I feel like I just ramble in these, but that's what I'm here for. So the main things that stick out to me is the growing relationships, the ridge to all the new tenants who are coming, the different like conflicts and things happening there, Roger and Bree really putting down roots and finding things that they like, and all the dangers of it, because there are high highs, but there are really low lows and dangerous things too. So there you are. That's kind of like my chat about this. I'd love to, if you've read this book, how did you feel about it? I think a lot of people, this is like their least favorite from what I've heard. And while I didn't love it more than Drums of Autumn, just because Drums of Autumn has like the meeting of so many characters that I want to meet each other, this book just expands upon so much, and I just ate this up. I read this the fastest of all of them so far. I read this in 7 days, and it is the biggest one. It was so good. I want to start the next one so bad, and it's like hard to hold off on it, because I adore this. So I love this series. I love it so much. I'm already like sad that there's only 3 left, which is ridiculous because these books are ginormous. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when my reviews of each episode will be going up. That's going to be starting in a few days because this comes out tomorrow. It comes out tomorrow. I'm so excited and scared. I'm so scared what they're going to do. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.